These days, it is way too easy to get comfortable. It is way too easy to not do better. Well, this episode, we got the privilege to talk to the great Deven Ortiz, an individual that left his regular 9 to 5, a secure job with secure retirement in order to become a multimillionaire. One of the best guests we had on the show. Check this episode out. Welcome back to the Solutions Podcast. Now, let's get it. All right. So to begin, who is Deven Ortiz and where are you calling from?
Yeah, Deven Ortiz. I'm a 10-year Army veteran. I'm calling from San Diego, California. I am a local real estate agent, advisor, entrepreneur, and investor.
Oh, okay, cool. So, like you said, 10-year Army veteran, right? And one thing that is different from you than most people is that you decided to get out instead of picking the retirement. What led to that decision?
I really felt like I could not accomplish my dreams on a military salary. And so that was inevitably my decision to get out. I could project my life being at the 10-year point. So I knew what I'd be able to accomplish in another 10 years with a little bit of salary upgrades, a little bit more money. So I was looking at first sergeant and sergeant major type of income. And I was deciding, can I accomplish my dreams and do the things that I want, not just for myself, but for my family, as well as my brothers, my sisters, my grandparents, and my parents? Could I accomplish that? And I just couldn't. So
Mhm.
inevitably, process of elimination is what forced me out.
Damn. So, what was the ultimate thing that happened when you made the decision? Say, hey, you know what? I really got something going on here. Let me go full force. Like, what was it? Because you say you're a real estate agent. What said, hey, I can do this?
Yeah, I wasn't a real estate agent while I was actually in the service. I had just used my VA loan a few times and other loan products to purchase multiple properties. And so I
Hmm.
started understanding what passive income was. And the light bulb literally went off. Once I understood that you can make money while you sleep, I figured, how can I go ahead and put a little bit more focus and emphasis on this to cover my survival amount? Food, clothing, shelter, transportation, utilities, etc. How can I cover that? And it started changing my fundamental thought process when I started to write down on some of my plans. Okay, well, I started with my budget. Here's my survival amount of
Hmm.
$5,000 a month. If I can reach that and I no longer am working just to cover my survival amount, what would I do with my life? And then the true, definite day that changed, I was walking on a beach in San Diego and I'm looking up at the cliffs that are have tons of houses on them.
Hmm.
And I remember someone telling me that, hey, not every single person that you see driving a nice car, having a nice house, etc., has it all paid off. A lot of them are up to debt in their eyeballs that are barely surviving, that are keeping up with the Joneses. And
Hmm.
so don't compare yourself to that. Just know that some people are doing well and it is that abundant and that great. And some people are just trying to keep up with others and the Joneses. And you
Hmm.
have to decide what type of person you're going to be. And I've always been very true to myself and who I know I am, but I knew that I wanted to accomplish more, have the finer things in life. So I said, regardless of these 100 or 200 homes I see on this cliff line right now, I know there's some people that are doing it a righteous way, having super low debt, are happy, healthy, abundant doing
Hmm.
that. And I would never be able to accomplish that and have a beach house if I stay in the service.
Okay. So you said that you saw those houses and that's what said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna get out. And what gave you the idea of real estate? What get that light bulb going?
The idea of real estate was truly, how is I already achieving some level of passive income? So
Okay.
by the time that it was about 2017, I joined in '09. I had purchased another property and built something called an accessory dwelling unit, which is essentially just like a casita, granny flat, guest house, etc.
Okay.
And I was living in one, renting out the other.
So like a
And
duplex, something like that?
yeah, like a duplex scenario type of
Okay.
thing. That would be more like a multi-unit, but it was the equivalent to it. It was taking a single family type property and turning it into a duplex.
Hmm.
And I was able then to move off of that property, rent out both units,
Hmm.
cover the mortgage, And now I was making about $2,700 a month profit going
Mm-hmm.
straight to the bank, which was the equivalent to one of my paychecks on the 1st and the 15th as an E5 with BAH. And I was like, wow, if I could
Damn.
duplicate this model one more time, it will cover
Mm-hmm.
my survival amount. It'll essentially clone me, like if I stayed in the service,
Mm-hmm.
and make that amount of money. So I decided, why not go with what I was already doing personally and then
Mm-hmm.
turn it into a profession. And as I started to really study, I realized that I had never been given any formal education on my VA loan. I
Mm-hmm.
started understanding, why is that? And then I said, man, if not me, then who? If
Okay.
no one else is doing it, why don't I step into that space? Why don't I try and fill the void? Why don't I raise my hand and say, I'll be the person that educates service members on their VA home loan,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll get out and I'll just teach what it is I've done, because I bought my very first property with an FHA loan because no one told me I even possessed a VA home loan.
Mm. Okay. So how did so is that what you're doing now? Do you still do that, or how did that process begin to educate in the military?
Yeah, I'm still educating. My goal is to educate more veteran service members than any one person or entity in the entire United States. Absolutely for no cost, no sales, straight education only from the VA guidelines alone themselves, because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people are misinformed and mistake what they hear at Navy Federal, USAA, Veterans United, you name it. We can go on for days about, I went in to get pre-qualified and then I was denied. Well, what they
Mm.
don't say is you're just denied here at Navy Fed because you have a 620 and you need a 680. There's actually
Okay.
no minimum credit score requirement for the VA home loan. So, what I teach is from the VA guidelines themselves, and it's strictly education, no sales whatsoever.
And so how far does your reach go? I know you touched San Diego, but how far does your reach go?
The reach goes as far as the globe goes, everywhere. We've helped people from the Middle East on deployment get this education and make informed decisions to where they're
Mm-hmm.
able to purchase while they're still overseas. We've
Mm-hmm.
helped people in Japan. We've helped people all over. So, no matter where you're at in the world, we can help you and give you the information. And then to execute, our reach is all 50 states and United States territories, including Puerto Rico and Guam, because they have the exact same banking laws, which means you can purchase using your VA home loan in Puerto Rico and in Guam.
So you're telling me I'm right now in Florida, you can still help me buy a house from here.
I can still help you purchase in Florida right now.
Oh wow. And so how's that process look like? Let's say somebody wants to get with you and say, "Hey, I like what you do. I like how you teach us. I want to work with you, but I live in Ohio." How does that look like?
Yeah, you could reach out to me on Instagram at Deven Ortiz, or you can go to connect with Deven, DEVEN.com. There's a contact form right there that you just hit and fill out. That Connect with Deven form doesn't just have a landing page where you put your information so I could help you. It has reviews, it has a link to my Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. It has reviews, the whole 9 yards. But if you
Mhm.
want to get in contact with me sooner rather than later, you either hit me in the DMs on Instagram, or you fill out that contact form at connectwithdeven.com, and I'll reach out to you within 12 to 24 hours and see, what do you need in order to get started. Do we need to start with just the general one-on-one briefing that we do on or off basis, and do it in a specialized consultation for you and your family specifically via Zoom or some type of electronic or virtual means like we're on right now, or
Mhm.
in person if you're local? So we're able to service anyone no matter where they're at.
Interesting. And what about agents? Because I know that you started as a real estate agent, but you're way more than that now, correct?
Yeah, correct. I'm still a real estate agent. I consider myself like an advisor. I've been ranked top 10 at numerous different brokerages in the entire United States out of all their agents and brokers combined. Currently, I'm with Real Broker, which is another real estate brokerage,
Mhm.
and I'm ranked number 4 out of the United States and Canada.
Wow. Wow. So you're taking How did the military implicate the way that you work today?
Yeah, the military is as well as professionally fighting. So whether it was professional fighting and the military with the structure, discipline, systematic, process driven, you name it, to the tenacious and relentless type of approach you have to have in martial arts. And I truly consider myself like a business athlete, but I take it
Hmm.
one step further. And I really want this purchase to fit into your short term and your long term goals. I want you to take exit strategy upon entry so that you're purchasing not just a home, but the right home for you.
Okay. So one thing that we have a inside joke for you in the guard is in the California National Guard, which is that you're a shark. If somebody wants a house, you'll find a way to get them in that house. So how do you do it?
How do I do it? We sit down and we understand, who are you? What's going on? What's your risk tolerance? What's your short term and your long term goals? What can you finance? How much do you feel comfortable spending? And then we try and reverse engineer the type of house based upon the planning. So a lot of people get out and it's like, oh, you want a house? Perfect. I'll go help you get a house right now. Boom, 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 boom. And then those
Hmm.
people get the house and they're like, yeah, my real estate agent's great. They helped me get the house. But what they didn't realize was that you could have got a lot more juice out the squeeze. You could have pinpointed specific properties that better fit your exit strategy. For example, are you purchasing based upon equity to where you want to sell and take this equity and roll it into your next home or a business venture? Or do you want to retain ownership and get as much positive cash flow as possible to offset that financial burden of life and add that property to the portfolio? Depending on those two scenarios, we may purchase in this zip code opposed to this zip code because this one has far better school districts opposed to this one has some more gentrification and infrastructure going in around it, so that you'll have higher equity in a shorter amount of time here. But this one is going to get you more positive cash flow because renters are willing to pay more for their kids to be in a better school district. So we really get into the nitty gritty, those fine tuned details. And then I have a 4-step process at locating on market properties that have the most amount of leverage on them as possible. So when we find properties that someone's going through job relocation, death.
Hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
Okay,
So
got it.
job
So four
relocation,
step
death.
process. Yeah, so we got a 4-step process to identifying on market properties that have the most amount of leverage. So when we're able to find people that are going through job relocation, there's been a death in the family, there's
Hmm.
tax implications on the property, there's a divorce situation, there's leverage there, and we're able to exploit that as buyers to get the most juice out the squeeze for you, and not just price reductions,
Uh
because
huh.
the VA home loan is the only loan product in the country where we could take the seller's credits in the negotiations and not
Hmm.
just cover your closing costs, not just buy down your interest rate, and not just prepay insurance or homeowners association fees in advance. We could actually pay off your credit cards. We can pay
Hmm.
off your automobile. We could pay off any personal debt. So while you purchasing the property, if we
Uh
can
huh.
get your $30,000 truck paid off as well and eliminate an $800 payment, why not?
Correct. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing you said, right? You leverage like the seller situation, right? They could be going through a divorce, they might be desperate. And that's why we say Devin the shark, you know. He is ready. He is
Yeah.
ready. Okay, and so you work for this brokerage, but I know that you have some other side quests that you're working on, correct?
Yeah, there's definitely I'm a visionary. There's always side quests, things I'm looking to do, things to improve upon. When I take a 3-step process. You identify a need for the human race, you
Hmm.
fill that need for the human race, and then you'll be able to make an impact. And when you make an impact on God's people, you get paid. So we just
Okay.
identify a need, fill a need, get paid. You know what I mean?
Okay. So right, what needs have you identified?
Needs that we've identified are a lot, whether it's building on people's properties, whether
Okay.
it's providing a higher level service and partnering with agents to
Mhm.
provide a higher level service throughout their real estate transactions.
Mhm.
Um, It could be things that I'm personally doing, whether it's like a trucking and transportation company, you name it. You know me, I'm always trying to do something. Even when I wasn't real estate, I was fighting professionally. I was
Mm-hmm.
still in the service. I was helping my friend's business liquidate other businesses by getting the people that hold signs that say, Toys R Us is going out of business, Pier One's going out of business, 50% off. I was doing those things when no one else knows about it. I really feel we're in the richest land with the most opportunity, and people just focus on 9 to 5 instead of focusing on what they can do from 5 to 9 or 5 to midnight. So while I'm young, I'm trying to use all this energy that I have to really pave the way for future generations to come.
No, that I mean that's good, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong, right? A lot of people like, hey, I go to work and clock out, and they clock out. Then that's
Yeah.
where they end, and that's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary, right?
Yeah.
So, but getting everything that you've done, because I don't want to. We can only guess how much you're worth, right? We can only guess how much you're worth, but it's definitely more than an E7 in the United States Army. So, the question is, what are some challenges that you've had to endure to get you to where you're at?
Number one challenge was breaking my limiting beliefs, as
Mm-hmm.
well as digging deep into traumas that I endured, not just through military service, not just through professionally fighting, but adolescence. And I think
Okay.
most people's PTSDs and things that come from our broken homes, come from how we've been talked to or what we've gone through as a child. So rewriting the narrative and changing how I talk to myself and what my belief systems were and how I communicate was by far my biggest challenges.
So here, so we call it the Solutions Podcast for a reason, right? So do how would you recommend anybody breaking through those? Because that is a fair point. A lot of people use their past to dictate their present and then fuck up their future.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're not that person. So, what are some techniques that people can utilize to help them get past those house barriers?
You will never outperform the current version of yourself. So
Okay.
you need to retool, you need to recalibrate, right? And so in the military, they don't promote you based upon who you are and what you possess right now. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to promote you based upon what your potential is.
Okay.
And so then from there, you're going to have to take your money and realize that you are your greatest investment, you are your greatest stock, and that you will need to seek out additional guidance, coaches, mentors, conferences, knowledge, turn your extra time into a university, turn your car into a university, turn your house into learning and studying time. There's so much available information out there. Ignorance is truly a choice. And so, whether it's the Solutions podcast or many others, people are dropping a lot of knowledge and game for free. There's
Mm-hmm.
books. I'm not the best reader. You'll realize when I start reading, there's a reason why I was in special ed classes my entire life. There's a reason why I'm a high school dropout and I never made it past 10th grade, right? There's a lot of things that
Mm-hmm.
maybe you don't even know about me, of things
Correct.
that I've gone through throughout my adolescence and my timeline. I lived in 27 homes by 18 years old. And
Mm.
so I had to take my money and say, you know what? I'm not just going to focus on injecting it into homes or buying stuff. I am my greatest investment. So, how can I emulate and learn from people that have already done it? I don't listen to anyone unless you have what I want. Like, I don't
Mm.
take ownership advice from renters, I don't take business advice from people that don't own businesses.
Okay.
So I took my money and I invested it into self development.
Mhm.
And that eventually led to me breaking down barriers, understanding that I needed to retool, recalibrate, and change my circle around me. I
Mhm.
needed to feed my mind because we are positive and negative receptors. Imagine if you just slice the brain in half and you got one negative like a battery and one positive. And our subconscious has always been recording. And most of the time we've been programmed with these negative, either little remarks, sly remarks, things that happen, evictions, repossessions, Play
Mm-hmm.
it safe, save for tomorrow, make sure you have a plan B, all these things, right? That create this narrative in our brain. And so we've been punching this negative side so many times, and this positive side hasn't been pushed as much. And the only way to really recalibrate that is to ensure that you're punching this positive one more times than this negative. So, really starting to focus on that through affirmations, gratitudes, and what you're listening to. I started putting in earphones when I go to sleep, and I would have these things talk to me that you are abundant, you are great, every cell in your body is recovering and rejuvenating. You are the people's champ, you are the chosen one. You may be the black sheep, but you're the generational curse breaker. You're not God, but God is within you. And so I would
Mm-hmm.
listen to that, and it just takes relentless follow through. But eventually, those breakdowns that you endure will lead to breakthroughs.
That's deep, man. They're definitely deep. It's people can't do that, man. Like it's well, I don't know why, to be honest. I don't know why is it that so many people just say, "Hey, this is where my cap is," because when I was a kid, my dad beat me and all kinds of stuff. But you just mentioned it, right? You said 27 homes before 18, right? And further than that, you made it to where you're at today. So what is the future looking like for Mr. Devin?
I feel like the future is really whatever I want it to be. It's where I put my mind, where I put my energy, and where I consistently go. That's what you'll have. And so I do believe that most people can achieve this. However, most people will never reach their potential based upon the mind. We have been programmed since the beginning of time to be hunters and gatherers, to protect ourselves. And so your mind is naturally going to try and keep you safe and keep you protected. But you need to realize
Mhm.
that we're no longer necessarily hunters and gatherers and in a very survival type mode. Here in America, you're pretty safe. And so
Mhm.
you need to play outside of the boundaries for how you've been wired. So you have this first world 2024 possibilities, but we're wired with ancient wiring. And so the
Mm.
only way to truly grow leaps and bounds is to understand that and then play outside of how we are traditionally wired that goes back to the beginning of time. Because a saber-toothed tiger is not going to jump out the bush and kill you today, but
Mhm.
your brain is still thinking fight or flight.
Mm. Okay.
So understanding that and truly putting enough focus and discipline, and that's why you and I have always gravitated towards each other because you've always been someone that's a grinder down to wake up early and work out before PT. You're the one that's able to run when it's snowing, whatever else, right? You're
Mhm.
seeking new information. You're starting the podcast. You're just goers. So where's that generator come from? There's a generator within inside of you, and so how
Mhm.
do we get that? That's why I think just the school system and just things are not set up for our success. And I'm not here to try and change the system. I understand that the system is the way that it is, but if we can inspire others to do great things, if we can enlighten others through what we're doing,
Mhm.
because you can't just talk about it, you got to be about it. And so
Yeah.
people raise their hand, they'll DM you, they'll come to you, hey, can you help me? All we
Mhm.
could do is all we could do. We're not here to fix a broken world. It's not for us to carry. But what we could do is we can be a light in a dark world.
Yeah, that is very, very true. As a matter of fact, have you seen the movie Pain and Gain?
No,
No? You didn't strike me as a movie watcher, huh?
no.
So this movie is Pain and Gain. You know who Marky Mark is?
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's this movie, and it's such a dumb quote that's really what stuck with me. And is again, dumb quote. Either you're a doer or a don'ter. Don't be a
Hmm.
don'ter, right? So be a doer. Something as dumb, pretty much you broke it down super, super deep. It's a very like basic. It's just like, hey, you want to do something, do it. Because that's like you said, the U.S. is one of the best countries out there, one of the safest countries out there to be able to reach whatever opportunity you can, but people do not. You're one of the few examples that chooses to that did not have a handout, and paved the way for yourself and possibly for whichever generations you create. I'm going to assume eventually you're going to create.
Yeah, I have my first daughter. She's 6, turned 7 months old.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
congrats.
thank you. So that has definitely been a superpower. I love her. It's been amazing. It's changed how I feel about life, about love, and so many other things and aspects of
Mm-hmm.
life. But getting back to people, and the way that I'm going to raise my daughter is you have to start with micro before you get to macro. You have to start
Mm-hmm.
with small before you get to big.
Mm-hmm.
But our dreams are so big and the things we want to accomplish are so big that we don't know the first few steps to even go in the right direction. So that's why you have to take your goals and you have to break them down into annual steps, quarterly steps, weekly
Mm-hmm.
steps, daily steps, hourly tasks. And so most people put too much on their plate, and then when they don't hit those check boxes, they just stop because
Mm-hmm.
it's too many negatives, right? People are like, you know what? I need to wake up earlier. I need to eat right. I need to listen to a podcast, read a book, and go to sleep by the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do it for a day or two and they just crumble. How about we just start with waking up 15 minutes earlier than what we're used to? And we'll go ahead and worry about the stuff later that will
Mm-hmm.
add to it. We have to condition ourselves and callous our mind, but we have to build something called momentum, which I call Big Mo. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people underestimate what momentum can do for you, but you have to build it the right way. So you have to build up your confidence first, and so
Okay.
building your confidence starts with the little victories, not the
Mm-hmm.
big victories.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's definitely true, right? Because it's even like a fighting reference, right? Most fights get won by the basics, right?
Hmm.
Well, you don't see a lot. There's a couple of fancy kicks that will finish a fight, but jab, cross, hook, uppercut, right? Most fights get beat by the basics, and the ones that know the basics very well end up being more successful sometimes. It might not be always the most exciting fighters like Anderson Silva, but the basics get you to the end goal. Is that something that you can relate with or no?
Yeah, all champions are based upon the fundamentals, whether it's Anderson Silva, Michael Jordan, Kobe, Tiger Woods, doesn't matter, whatever it is. If you have the fundamentals down, you could be a champion. You will be the champion. If you're the best at throwing a jab cross,
It's gonna land.
that's it. It's going to
Yeah.
land. You don't need fancy anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you stick with the fundamentals, but building up a human to get to the point where they believe that they can achieve, it starts with the daily fundamentals of life, which is you don't overpromise yourself and then underdeliver. You don't make promises to yourself and then break them. And if you
Mm-hmm.
start breaking them, that means you have too many promises on your plate. So you need to just stick with one before you add two, before you add three, before you add four, so that you can build that momentum. You wake up at the right time, then you make your bed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not making your bed, then you know what I mean, you just reverse engineer until you could build that momentum through the day where it becomes a habit, it becomes a routine, it becomes that, and then you're able to build upon that. But most of us are not, we're not understanding that the battlefield of the mind is truly the ultimate battlefield.
Okay. So not to put some business out there, but I am curious, right? You said everything was on the table.
Hmm.
Okay. I
Yeah,
know it was a few months ago, and it might be a year from now. Again, I just got back, so my life has kind of had that gap, right? I'm sure you had some experiences where you go, you do something, and then everybody's life moves on, but you're still in the same place, right? It's the same concept. I deployed, came back. I thought everything is the same. Nothing's the same, right? But I think, I don't know if it was a few months ago or a year ago, where you had posted that you were doing something for like the brain. Um, it looked like you were in some mountains or something like that.
oh yeah.
What was that about?
So, how I said the battlefield, the mind is the ultimate battlefield, and how I started off the conversation talking about limiting beliefs, traumas, tribulations, etc. Then I went into talking about your brain being a negative and positive receptors, and you need to stamp the negative, or you need to
Mm-hmm.
stamp the positive way more times than you stamp the negative in order to turn your subconscious in the positive direction, because most of us are just negative beings, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The only other way besides me, because I got tired of just falling asleep and listening to great self-talk, I was like, what's the cheat code? Like, where's the express lane?
Yeah.
And I started continuing my journey on therapy sessions and this, that, the rest, that eventually, inevitably led me into something called plant medicine. So most people think about medicine as Western medicine, traditional medicine, a person
Mm-hmm.
in a white lab coat that hands you over pills and talks to you and all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I started doing research on like, where do these pills come from? We know in the VA, they're prescribing us all types of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but all of those pills have been based upon a plant form.
Mm.
So why
Okay.
not just go straight to the plant instead of dealing with side effects and everything else that comes with the traditional medicine? So I found something in Peru called ayahuasca. And
Okay.
ayahuasca is a healing plant that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to do about 10 years of therapy in one night.
What?
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Relentless, treacherous,
Mm-hmm.
mind opening, eye opening, healing, loving, fierce,
Mm-hmm.
everything combined into one. But
Wow.
on the other side of it, it's I've been in therapy since a very early age, a little
Mm-hmm.
kid. And so my entire lifetime of sitting with psychiatrists did not even scrape the surface on the amount of healing I got in one night in Peru.
Mm. Okay.
I know someone that was shot 9 times in Afghanistan, flatlined 5 times, and bled out and needed all the blood that they could get.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine what that person deals with to come back and live a normal life and reintegrate into society post war. I've seen people with other combat tours. I've taken a straight dope fiend addict down to the jungle of Peru. Now
Mm-hmm.
is sober. Now has multiple years clean. That went
Mm.
from making $800 a week as a roofer, working for a company, to now owning a company, being a contractor, and making $20,000 a week.
Oh wow.
I've seen people that have and women, or a woman that got raped 26 times, that had no ability to have a relationship or trust a man whatsoever, leaving the treatment facility feeling confident to have a relationship with a man.
Mm.
And so the amount of trauma that this medicine is able to heal, the amount of limiting beliefs that this medicine is able to eradicate, the amount, the amount of self-reflection and healing. Of course, it's not welcome in America. It's too good for us.
That's the next question I was gonna ask. Is it legal
Definitely not legal.
here? Here, yeah. So I mean, they talk about many places how it seems like our medical system's a little bit more business oriented, right? We are a capitalist nation, so they're going to do what they got to do to make a penny, but at what expense?
At everyone's expense, because you merely are just another number. You mean nothing
Mm-hmm.
to the system. They will profit over you. They will rape you. They will pillage you. They will poison you. And it's merely just the beginning of people awakening. If you don't believe me, look on the box of chocolate chip cookies, and why is there 36 ingredients? Why is all the sunscreen that we put on our children harmful, and that after 24 hours goes into their bloodstream and actually is not good for our kids or anything else like that? How come my mother is 50 years old and has been cut open 62 times by the medical system? How come the insurance companies own the hospitals and then write the codes for what scripts and what procedures the nurses and doctors order things? How come I can go on for days and days about why it is that
Mm-hmm.
the healthcare system doesn't call themselves the sick care system? How is it that when they believe that there is cancer on an overwhelming percentage, that they want to biopsy it? Why? Because they want to poke it, prick it, because they know as soon as they poke it, prick it, it's going to spread throughout your body.
Mm.
How come they know things, but they do the opposite? Why is it that they want to force you to chemotherapy and try and kill you, the cancer, kill your body, along with killing the cancer at the same time? when
Mm-hmm.
they know there's so many other ways around it. Started studying Dr. Sebi. Have you ever researched him?
No, I have not. Who's that?
Dr. Sebi, Sebi, or some people call him Dr. Sebi. I'm
Okay.
not sure the exact pronunciation, but he was actually tried on a federal court grand jury because he had stated, I have cured herpes, AIDS, HIV, all these type of things. And they had
Mm.
said, no, you haven't. You can't come out and say that. Here's a federal indictment against you.
Wow.
I believe they asked him to treat 9 patients. He said, no, I'll treat 66 of your own patients. And then let's see how they do. He
Mm-hmm.
actually beat the federal court case.
Oh,
He beat
wow.
the federal court case, and all of those patients had either received a reduction in whatever their symptoms were or full remission based on herbs and plant medicine.
Mm.
So there's no money to be made in that, and there's a reason why I truly believe why he ended up dead. He was 80 some years old, I believe. He's from Nicaragua. I believe he's from Nicaragua. And able
Mm-hmm.
to jump, be on his knees, the whole 9 yards. Like he was like, I'm totally good to go. And so the system is not built for your success.
Mm.
Every which way you go, whether it's the reincarceration rates, the prison system, the medical system, and even where we come from, the military industrial complex, it's all for profit. It all makes money. And we use and abuse the human race and God's people in order to fund crazy amounts of money to families and hierarchies that are behind the scenes that I truly don't know all of it. I'm not well versed, but I am a visionary. I do understand it, and I can go from a 1,000-foot view, look at a 30,000-foot view, etc. And I've seen numerous different instances. How come my sister, 26 years old, ended up with blood clots 60 days after getting the COVID shot?
That's a, I mean, that COVID shot, that's a unique topic, and there's a lot of things behind that, right? So,
So we could speak on days about all of these things, but what I will tell
mm,
you is how come most countries that Americans look down upon have eliminated most of the ingredients that we use in America. We know that the yellow dye, this, the red 40, the yellow this, it causes ADHD in kids. Do you
mhm,
not understand the trickle effect? Are you not connecting the dots to know that when we continuously microdose and poison people, if you think we make money fighting drugs or people make money dealing drugs, only a
mhm,
slim amount of people do drugs. Every
correct.
person has to eat at least one time a day. So if you put it inside of every single piece of food, imagine how much money is made. The biggest drug dealers are the people making the food.
Yeah,
And so then your kid comes up with ADHD, which then they need a prescription. And then guess what? Goes through the insurance company and then they need a script for it. Then you got to get a doctor. And now you can start connecting the dots to see what's going on.
mm, damn. So Peru it is.
So Peru didn't connect those dots for me. That's me being a kid that was suspended 9 times.
Mhm,
Oh, excuse me. I lived in 9 homes by 5 years old. I suspended 29 times by ninth grade. And
mhm,
they put me in special ed classes when I was a real young kid. And so I was the kid that was put on Ritalin. I was the kid that was meeting with psychologists. I was the kid
mhm,
that wasn't supposed to mount to nothing. And
mm,
so I was the kid that met his father in prison. I was the kid that had his mom cut open 60 times. You know what I mean? Like I got to go through this
mhm,
personally or live through it indirectly. And so I started looking at it and asking myself, why? Why does my dad go back to prison? Why is it that they're not reforming him or giving him treatments or all this type of stuff? How come they continue to tell my mom that they should cut her open over and over and over and over? And I was like, man, they're really treating her like a guinea pig, all these type of things. And then guess what? I'm like, Mom, hey, there's a recall commercial, kind of like the 3M for the
mhm. For the
ear
hearing,
things for deployment, right?
the
There's all
earplugs, yeah.
yeah, with mesothelioma for the shipyards. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? From the
yeah.
asbestos and all that type of stuff. Hey,
Mhm,
mom, that mesh that they put in you is recalled. It's on the screen. Oh, wow. Mom should be a multi-million-dollar class action top tier settlement, but because she was unfortunate and had to file bankruptcy, she's not welcome to that amount of money anymore. And so now her body is rejecting that mesh, pushing it through her other organs, where my mom's sicking every day. So I really am a testament. I feel like I'm the people's champ, and there's nothing I'm unwilling to do to become a better person, a better brother, a better spirit, a better friend, or anything else in this world, a better father. And so it led me down to Peru, which is arguably, if not the undisputed, most ancestral, deep rooted plant medicine that you could do to get the most amount out of it. So, whoever you are, it'll affect us completely different. If you and I go together, whatever it is you need the most amount of healing and fixing with, it will attack that. It'll do the
Mm.
same for me. Anyone else that's in that room, it doesn't do the same thing for everybody. It'll go and fix whatever it is you need to be fixed.
Ah, okay. So is it what they call it? Would it be considered like hallucinogens?
Hallucinogenic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is something like that? Oh,
So
okay.
a lot of people say, "Oh, drugs," or "Hey, this," and they label it because they know when
Mm-hmm.
they label it, they can mark it as scary,
Mm-hmm.
taboo, this, that, the rest.
Oh.
There's a lot of great things that come with plant medicines, some hallucinogenics. It just depends on what's your intention behind it. Everything can be exploited. We're not
Correct.
here to get fucked up. We're here to heal.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, for instance, I seen this meme the other day and it hit spot on. And at
Mm-hmm.
half of the page, it was some kids holding some mushrooms and was like, let's get fucked up. And then
Mm-hmm.
it had those kids as adults and it said, let's heal.
Interesting.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about your intention, what's going on. There's great things out here. I still love America, but I just see through all the bullshit these days.
Mm. So who you voting for?
I'm voting for. I feel like we don't really have a vote, to be honest with you. Because what educate me though, because the electoral votes is really who dictates who the president is, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The people are voting for the people that are able to vote for the presidency. So if my state is blue, being in California, like, should I vote?
I mean that's a fair
Has
debate
it
that's been going on
has,
for a long time.
has it ever been red? California ever been red state? Can we just skip electoral votes and just have the majority of the people be able to dictate what it is? I
So
just feel like
they
there's a lot, and I'm kind of outside of my pocket and wheelhouse.
Mhm.
Politics is something that I haven't ventured into or whatever else, and I am one of those people that do believe that the president does not call the shots.
Yeah, so when it comes to the electoral vote and the populist vote, right? So the reason why they keep the electoral vote is because if you think about it, most people are below the poverty line in the United States, which tend to vote a specific way. Okay, so what happens when we lose the American values of hard work and capitalism and everything, and everybody's working for getting the free handouts? We start
Hmm.
becoming like those countries that become basically the wealth gets allegedly distributed.
Yeah,
Now
distributed.
less people are putting in that work, such as yourself,
Hmm.
right? There's less Deven Ortizes out there because you're gonna get the same money by doing less, if that
Well, I'll
makes
tell you
sense.
right now, I'm definitely not voting for Kamala Harris because she locked up more minorities by being the Attorney General of California than anyone else. She's been proven to withhold information and keep people locked up, even though that people should have been released and that were not actually guilty, for the betterment of how many cases they closed and all that type of stuff. So I just feel like that's someone that I cannot stand behind whatsoever. And I truly believe that we need someone a little bit bullish. We need someone strong, and we need someone that's not going to go ahead and just be told what to do. I think people don't want at a higher level Trump to be president, for the simple fact that there probably is a little bit of bullishness in him behind the scenes, that people will tell him what to do and he tells them to F off a little bit.
Mhm.
I don't know. I've never been in those type of political arenas or anything, but I know there's a lot of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. There's a lot of behind the scenes drug deals, and I just feel like it's all bullshit and smoking mirrors, and that we don't have the information needed to make a well informed decision. They don't like Bloods and Crips, but yet we have Democrats and Republicans. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. Well, from someone that's worked in DC, I could tell you you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's about as far as my conversation can go without them breaking into the door. But you're not fully wrong. And then once I get out and I can wear my beard just like you, then we can go deeper into those talks. Because even
There you
even
go.
these things, they're listening.
All the time.
So, all right. Now, if you could tell a fresh, let's say 17-year-old getting ready to graduate from high school, if you could give them some advice for success, what would it be?
My advice to a 17-year-old transitioning out of high school into real life, it would be to go play all out and gather as many experiences as possible. Many people are going to ask you, what do you want to do with your life? But that's an unfair question because most people and most adults don't even know what they want to do in their life. So go out, gather experiences, and utilize process of elimination to dictate the direction and where you're going to go from there. Because you'll learn once you're a dishwasher that you probably don't want to be a dishwasher forever. You'll learn once you're doing construction that you probably don't want to do construction forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you fall in love with construction, great, but learn how to own the business, learn how to go and get the deals and do all those things. You don't want to be the laborer forever. So allow your experiences to start guiding you, and then your heart and your soul is going to tell you whether you enjoy it. And when you find something that you don't look up at the clock and you don't count the minutes or the hours, you're on the right path.
Mm. Yeah. No, 100% right. They said that if you, what is it? You do what you love, you never work again, right?
Never work a day in your life. So I don't feel like I really work. I love doing what I'm doing. And you do how you do one thing is how you do everything. So go ahead and give 100% in everything that you do. Lift up the toilet seat before you go to the restroom if you're a male. You know what I mean? Those type of things. When you wash your hands and you leave water all around the faucet, wipe
Mm-hmm.
that up before you go, right? Do those little things because those little things are just like those little victories that we're talking about that builds that positive momentum. And I think if we can raise our children to do those little things correctly, inevitably they're going to do the big things correctly because it's based upon the fundamentals.
Well, first and foremost, unfortunately, I gotta call bullshit on something you just said because you work all the fucking time. You know, I saw somebody that's worked with you. Like I think you helped me with buying and selling a house. Like you work all the time, and if not you, you got somebody working on the job that you're working on. Either way, it's on point.
Yeah, it wasn't that I don't work, it's just I don't look at it as work. I look at it as serving. I love it. Like
Mm-hmm.
answering your phone call at 10:30 at night to answer questions, like I feel good about that. I don't mind it. And so when you are in alignment with what it is you do, it just becomes service.
No, that definitely. So, last but not least, man, if you were king for a day of America, what would be the changes that you would make?
A king of America, what would be the changes?
Yes. What changes would you implement? No
I
one
would
can fight you, not even the Illuminati.
I would completely eradicate the school system,
Okay.
and we would teach other fundamentals within there. We would teach things like what's an appreciating item, what's a depreciating item, what's an asset, what's a liability, how to manage your emotions, your emotional intelligence. It's okay to be depressed when someone breaks up with you. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to want to
Hmm.
fight someone. What it's not okay to do is to react.
Okay.
And how do we sit on our emotions? And most of the time, when we sit on our emotions and we allow a full day to pass, you go ahead and you feel a different way the next day. So, how do we sit in that, right? When people are like, I want to kill that person, it's like, well, go sit in your bathroom for 24 hours and see how you feel because that's what solitary confinement is going to feel like. And
Okay.
so I would do that, right? I would start at
Hmm.
a young age. I would eradicate this school system that is not meant to truly educate people. It's to herd people in certain directions on certain types of employments that they want filled in the United States. And
Hmm.
so I would start there. And I don't think that the next stage, which is dropping a bag of money in the hood, is the answer. But I
Okay.
think that we should incentivize people to be the lighthouses of the world, to go out and teach one, to create relations, and not try and formalize as many Latino pride, Black pride, this pride, that pride, and say, hey, we're all one. How can we unify the community instead of segregating ourselves even through our groups? I feel
Mm-hmm.
like even when we create things for good reasons and outreaches, it inevitably ends up segregating ourselves even more.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how can we teach mental resilience? Like, that's a big question. I was not, I was not prepared whatsoever for any of these questions because we didn't prepare. But that one was a big, big curveball because I've never looked at myself as someone that would be able to be a king of a land and change things. But the
Mm-hmm.
number one thing on top of all else would be if every single person could go around and understand that moral compass with inside of yourself, even people when we're doing bad things,
Mm-hmm.
know that they're doing bad things.
Okay.
So that moral compass, if you identify that moral compass as that part of God in you, God, grace, Allah, Buddha, the universe, doesn't matter what it is you call it. And when you walk through the day and that person cuts you off or makes you mad, when you forget the 99% and you speak to that 1% of God in them, I think that it would change the landscape of how we deal with people and interactions with people every single day. And so you speak to that sliver of God inside of that person, and you realize that if we are made in the image of the creator, that if I harm you, I'm harming myself. When I harm your family, I'm harming my family.
Mm-hmm.
I think the world would be a much better place if we
Mm.
conducted ourselves like that.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. I like that, man. Like, yeah. So, like you mentioned, we didn't prepare, and that's a question that even when I send questions, I don't talk about it, right? Because I want to hear it genuinely. Because when we don't know, we're gonna say what we're really thinking, right? If we already prepared, like, oh, somebody might judge this, somebody might judge. Nah, 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 nah. We're gonna keep it authentic, you know.
Yeah,
All right.
always.
So, then what are some departing words of wisdom before we end this call?
You're not who you were yesterday. You're not who you were in your past. Every day you have the ability to create your life and not just accept it. No matter what you've done, you have the ability, as long as you have air in your lungs and a beating heart, you can go ahead and change the trajectory of your life. You also have to know that every action has a reaction. So when you ask for something, it's going to test you, it's going to stretch you. When you push out and you say, I want this, God, grace, Allah, Buddha, the universe is going to bring you back. And it's going to slap something in front of you called adversity, trials, tribulations. And what that is that's a filtration system to see, are you just talking the talk or are you going to walk the walk? And are
Mm,
you going to overcome that? Because every day that you overcome that is another day that your competition falls out. Another day that someone was talking the talk and couldn't walk the walk, baby. So you got to
mm,
continue to say what you mean what you say, be dedicated, be disciplined, and follow through. And when you stay consistent based on what you say and you move your body and you're in alignment with what you think about, what you talk about, and what you do with your body, you will absolutely accomplish whatever it is you want in this life.
mm. That's a lot of deep messages, man. But I do appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully, the next time we see each other is in a plane to Peru. Because I'm down, son.
Yeah,
I'm
baby,
down.
let's go.
There's a lot of
Okay.
healing that needs to happen,
A
man.
lot of healing, my man. I can't wait to hear your testimony on the other side. I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've done it, and it's the number one thing that's truly eradicated in the shortest amount of time. I'm so blessed for it. And it would have, I could have done therapy my entire life and never been able to reach this level of enlightenment and healing and just feeling so good in my heart. So I appreciate you for creating this podcast, using your thoughts, your vision, and actually putting in the work to be able to distribute people's words and their stories around the world to whoever wants to tune in. And so I look forward to being able to help you, whatever capacity, whether it's purchasing in Florida, whether it's getting to Peru and healing, to whether it's other joint business ideas, whether it's anything, bro. I'm always here for you. You know that I've always respected you, and I'm glad that you decided not just to accept your life, but to create it, and not just to say, "Hey, my military salary was enough. I'm gonna have other things and other ideas that I have," and you're not gonna get paid for it. You may never get paid for it, but if it
Mm-hmm.
fuels your heart and it sets your soul on fire, keep doing it, baby. Because when you help influence enough people in this world, inevitably, that's the way it works. You get paid for it. When you contribute to the world with great things, it's a
Mm-hmm.
product and a service, baby, like everything else.
Well, the thing is, so on my first episode, I went over it a little bit, but like now it's like that's the reason. The whole reason of starting this podcast is because there's too many smart people and even too much advice that I have, and many people that are unheard because they're not celebrities. You know,
Hmm.
there's too many people like you that out there that nobody knows about. Too much good advice that goes unlistened, especially as you mentioned, right? We could separate ourselves from minorities, from this, from that, but too many of us don't have that message. We have to find out the hard way. So we
Hmm.
can make that path for somebody else to get there. Why not? You know, especially
Why
because
not?
I'm already an NCO in the military. I want to be an NCO in life. If
That's
that makes
right.
sense. You
Hey,
know.
the art of living, baby. You know what I mean? Like get
Mm-hmm.
great at the art of living. That's the best. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Bye, man. Well, I appreciate you calling on. We will wrap this up. I appreciate you, and we're out. Well, there you have it, folks. The great Deven Ortiz blessed us with his knowledge, blessed us with his experiences, and he actually opened up on a lot of traumas that the individual went through. One of the greatest shows we've had so far. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, and also do not forget to reach out to him. He made the information. Reach out to him on Instagram, Facebook, any way possible. Reach out to him if you're looking to purchase your new home in the United States, especially if you're in the Southern California area. Thank y'all for listening, and thank y'all for your support.